I'm Lady Cee.
I'm JT.
And we want to welcome Shannon and Keith to the Critical Thought. How you guys doing this evening?
Good. How are
Excellent.
you?
How you guys doing?
We're
Pretty
doing
good, pretty good.
Okay, so anyway, you two have recently left the Watchtower, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Who was the lead runner in this escape?
Guilty as charged.
Okay.
You're listening to The Critical Thought, where we challenge our listeners to use critical thinking when examining the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses.
So I know you have been on other channels, and if people want to get that whole story, they can get that on your channel, why you left and everything. So we won't do a whole replay of that here. But basically, this episode is going to be talking about how you guys left as a couple. Because like JT and I, we left as a couple, and we've been meeting quite a few people that are leaving as couples, but we're also finding a lot of people that are not leaving as couples.
Yeah.
And they're splitting up. So we want to kind of talk to you guys about, how you guys left, how you woke up your wife and everything.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Yeah, what we're trying to do is show that you can leave as a couple and you can be successful when you leave.
Right.
That's probably the biggest misunderstanding that people have who are still witnesses. And it's because of what we were taught. We were all taught that once you leave, of course, your life just falls apart. Well, what we've observed is the reason people leave. If people leave because of something they may have done, quote unquote, in the congregation, that might be the case. But what we have found, if people leave because they took the time to sit down and do some serious research, they realize I don't have time to waste in my life now on foolish stuff, because I've already wasted my life on foolish stuff. I don't have time now. So at this point, we got to get up and get going. So that's the main thing we're looking at today.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree.
Okay, so Keith, what was going through your mind after you discovered this was not the truth? What was going through your mind?
Well, this has been a long time coming for me. I've had doubts, believe it or not, since 2007.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I had an eye-opening experience, one particular meeting at the Theocratic Ministry School. Two sisters were giving a talk, and for some reason, I just had this uneasy feeling, but I couldn't figure out what it was. But during that time, I'd have gotten involved in some multi-level marketing business ventures,
Okay.
And we would have these business meetings. And at these meetings, we would do these demonstrations, on how to pique interest of people, to get them to buy our product and things of that nature. And after every demonstration, we would get counsel, what we did right, what we did wrong, how to improve. So I'm sitting at the meeting and I'm just drawing this correlation. I can't figure out why I feel this way, but my instincts are telling me something. And it wasn't until a few months ago that I put together why I felt that way 10 years ago. But it's amazing that how instincts, they were trying to help me to draw that correlation, that both of these two things are businesses.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. And that is probably the biggest thing that we often let people know. This is a business, man. Society's clocking almost $1 billion a year in revenue. This is a serious business. Only thing is, the difference is what the product we're moving. We're moving their books and magazines. That's all it really is. I tell people, you can dress it up and try to make it some prophetic fulfillment of some Bible prophet. You can do that if you want to, but at the end of the day, this is a business. Rutherford knew that. When Rutherford took over from Charles Taz, that he realized this thing's a business. And he made it work. He worked it. He worked that program. So that's why he set up the Theocratic Ministry School, which, like you said, is basically a training, sales training. And that's why you saw the correlation. Yeah, good point.
So that was 10 years ago. Now, how long have you guys been married?
It has been about 1.5 years now. So it'll be 2 years next May.
Oh, wow.
Okay, wow. Newlyweds.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Babies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so at what point did Keith tell you about his feelings about the organization?
He actually didn't tell me until after we were already married.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I want to say we have been married for about 6 months.
Wow.
And
Whoa.
yeah, and then he told me how he actually felt. So before that, I wasn't really aware that he had any issues, except we had talked a lot about that Watchtower article that discussed the beards, and that caused a lot of controversy. So we were actually on the same page about that. I didn't really see, what the problem was with beards. We didn't find anything scriptural against having them. So that was something that we agreed about and we talked about a lot. But other than that issue, like, I didn't know that he had doubts about the organization as a whole.
Wow.
Well, you were really testing the waters there, Keith.
I was.
Oh man, you really were.
It was a gamble.
It was a gamble, boy.
It was, man. I was banking on the fact that she's always been an open-minded person.
That's good.
Despite the indoctrination. You know what I mean? So it worked out.
Yeah.
Well, you rolled the dice and you won.
Yeah.
That was good, though. Because, I mean, we know people, we have talked to people, and they're like trying to literally pry their spouses out of this religion. And it's like, oh my God, to know it's not the truth and to just walk into a relationship
Right.
and not knowing what she's going to do.
Yeah.
That must have been very scary for you.
It was very scary because in that situation, you never really know how it's going to play out. And I mean, they encourage you not even to date somebody who's not a believer. So
that's exactly right.
So the division that could be caused in that type of situation.
Oh, we've seen it. Oh yeah, we've seen it. What was your feeling? I'm just curious from her perspective. Do you remember the night how did he bring it up? I mean, did he just say, look at this magazine, this is wrong? Or did he like try to ease it in through the back door,
Who did I show you?
Well, he showed me your video
oh my goodness. Which
about
one?
why you left, but that wasn't the first thing. So initially, he kind of used the whole beard situation as a springboard because he knew I was already on board with that. And then, he would just sometimes just in our everyday conversation just bring up something that was a point to think about, like, how something how the governing body interpreted something from the Bible and things like that, or how they changed the scripture in the Bible. Why do you think they did that? And I'll be like, well, I don't really know, but I didn't feel comfortable questioning it because we're not supposed to do that. So I would feel a little bit uneasy when he asked things like that, but it would just stay in my mind. Like I'd think about it. So then he'd put something like that out there and then move on and not talk about it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did you ever want to take him to the brothers?
Oh yeah. I'm turning you back. I'm turning you in and getting a refund.
But you know what though, Shannon? Did you ever talk to anybody else about what he was saying to you?
Yeah. I didn't.
Wow.
And what's funny is, I don't know if Keith even knows this, but before he said anything to me about it, I came across, he was like on the computer one day and he left his YouTube page up and I happened to see it. So like I saw some of the types of videos that he was looking at. And of course I didn't, watch it or anything because I was still, too afraid to do that. I just saw like some of the titles of the videos and I was like, okay, don't really know what to feel about this right now, but I kind of just like let it go. Didn't say anything about it.
Wow.
Thought maybe it will go away, maybe it will pass, maybe he was just curious. So I didn't say anything to him about it. And then later on, maybe like a week or so later, is when he actually came to me about it. And I was like, okay, this is actually happening.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And were you guys going to the meetings on a regular basis when all this was happening?
Yeah, at this time we were semi-consistent, not what they would want, obviously, but we were there about 75% of the time. So that's kind of why she was confused, because she's like, you haven't said nothing to me before, we've been going to the meetings and you encouraged me to talk to everybody and widen out, which I was doing.
Yeah.
So the cognitive dissonance was kicking in for me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then I would notice like when we started not being as consistent at the meetings, I would like it would be getting close to the time where we would be getting ready. I'm like, oh, so we're not going to the meeting today? And he's like, nah, I'm kind of tired. I think I'll just listen in. So I was like, okay. And it kind of bothered me at first because, you know, like I felt guilty that we weren't there, but I also didn't want to just go by myself because I didn't want other people to get the impression that there was some sort of division between us.
So marital discord.
Yeah. So I wasn't quite comfortable with not being at the meeting because of how other people would think about us not being there, but I would have been more uncomfortable with people thinking that we had issues in our marriage, so I just stay home with them.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting that you said, because that's the way Lady Cee was. She generally didn't want to go to the meeting if I didn't go. And the reason why, because once she told me she would walk into Kingdom Hall and she would just get barraged, you know. And she probably can tell the story about I had to go to school for my job, and it was on a circuit assembly weekend, and boy, they ate me alive. They ate her alive.
They kept asking me where my husband was, and we were getting ready to leave at that time too, and we knew we were trying to tiptoe out of there.
Yeah.
And it was so crazy because every time I walked by the presiding overseer, because that's what they called him back when we were going to the meeting.
Yep.
And he was like, "Where's he at?" And then it became a joke, and it even carried into the next week at the Kingdom Hall. Was, "Oh, where's he at?" You know, but he was at the meeting that night, but he was still trying to be smart, you know. But he kept on trying to say, "So where is he? Where is he?" You know. Wow. But you were only missing one day.
I just missed one day because it was a Saturday. I had to go to the class on Saturday. It was a training class. But man, like you said, the point is if you go by yourself and you're married, boy, the friends like must be something going on.
Yeah.
I would have known.
You could be home sick. You could be home sick, almost dying, and they got something going on.
But you know what? And I'm surprised I even went to the assembly that day without you. But if I would have known that they were going to do that to me, I would have just stayed home and went out for coffee.
Right. For sure.
Because I mean, it was terrible. And then I did find a sister to sit with. You know, I sit with her and her family and stuff like that. You know, so I didn't want to be by myself. So you know, and I thought this sister that I sat next to at the assembly was on her way out. She had her husband was an elder in the other congregation, and she had just gotten a promotion on her job, and she was complaining that the people in her congregation was dogging her because she had got this promotion. And so I was like, oh, she's starting to perk up, you know, and she's getting ready to go too.
Right. And
the last time we talked to somebody that was in that congregation, they're still going.
Wow.
So that was 20 years ago. That was over 20 years ago. So she's still there, you know. But it's amazing.
That doesn't mean that she believes.
That's true.
That's the thing about it. She could be there because she may be like so many other people. Where am I gonna go? Or you know, the repercussions of leaving.
Yeah.
That's the sad part about it.
It's very tough. It's very tough.
Yeah.
I don't think they got that many family members in.
Oh, really?
Because her husband got like 3.
But they're kind of like they would be like almost like worldly Jehovahs. Even though he's an elder and everything, they interact with their worldly family all the time. I mean, they do major things with their worldly family, which is very unusual for a Jehovah's Witness, and especially an elder.
True.
Because you know, many times, and their family don't come. It's not like they're coming to the hall or anything. They just still hanging out. So it's interesting how, as you move among Jehovah's Witnesses, some people are diehard, whatever the society says, and then you got others that they hanging out there on the edges, boy, as close as they can get. Boy.
Right. They're teetering, yeah.
The bottom line was, you know, when we were leaving, I was testing the waters. He knew, don't talk to anybody. And if somebody so much as didn't go to the meeting or stopped going to the meeting, I was testing them to see whether or not they were waking up.
Mm-hmm.
No.
In
fact, this one sister, we had met for lunch. And I was trying to cast my doubt. And she saw some people from her job sitting at the table next to ours. Mm-hmm. And she said, if you tell me this is not the truth, she said, I swear I will get up from this seat and I will go join my coworkers. And they were all worldly. So she was gonna leave me at lunch and go sit someplace else if I told her that I didn't think this was the truth.
As if that's so much better.
Sitting with me, right?
Hey.
Right. All because I said this ain't the truth or felt like it wasn't the truth.
But that's the difference. See, you professed, you got baptized, you dedicated.
Right.
So
that's right.
So they're not as big of a threat.
That's right. So it was kind of crazy. Now, were you guys pioneering or have any titles? What were you guys doing?
Yeah, I pioneered right out of high school. So
okay.
As soon as I graduated, hit the ground running and pioneered for about 4 years and became a servant in my 3rd year. They told me, my parents told me, this world's gonna end. You don't need no secular education, don't worry about that. Anything.
Don't worry about it.
Distraction. Yeah, that's gonna be distraction for what's most important. Category. So yeah, that was what I did. My brother actually went to Bethel around that time.
Wow.
And of course, being the younger sibling. So you gonna follow your brother? You going
to Bethel? That's right. Oh man. Man. Oh, it's bad.
I basically was like, yes, I'm going. Yeah, I'm going to Bethel. Yes. Of course, I said it that I was, of course on the surface that I was gonna do it, but that was never something I wanted to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
For me, it was a little bit different. So when I graduated from high school, I hadn't gotten baptized yet. So even though pioneering right out of high school is encouraged, it wasn't an option for me because I wasn't baptized, so I couldn't do it. So I actually ended up going to school instead. I went to college, which is advised against, but I went anyway because I had to do something with my life since I can't pioneer. So while I was in college, by that time I had gotten baptized and I started to take things a little bit more seriously. So I would auxiliary pioneer every now and then, like for the special campaign months, like when they had the memorial and the convention seasons, because the hour requirement was lower. It was 30 instead of 50. So I felt like, okay, well, I can start with this and then maybe I can work my way up.
Work your way up. That's it.
I can work my way up to being a pioneer later, but it was really hard for me because I didn't enjoy field service. So I was trying to use that to help make myself learn how to like it, but it never really worked. So I didn't end up ever regular pioneering.
Just eating their vegetables.
Yeah, basically.
Zucchini.
I really feel you on that one. When I first started pioneering, I did enjoy it because, I was really gung-ho at the time. This is before I met JT. Me and my mother had already made a vow to pioneer. Okay. So we did start to pioneer, but then as time went on, it became a chore, a big chore. It became a burden. It became, they put it on paper, and when I was pioneering, it was 90 hours a month. And it was one of those things where it sounds easier on paper than doing.
Yeah.
Because I remember it was kind of cold outside, but it was not cold enough to have on boots. And when I say boots, you guys are from Detroit.
Yeah.
Y'all know what moon boots are.
Yes.
Okay. So moon boots were those big old clunky boots that you wear with that big old down coat.
Yep.
I was on field service and it was 60 degrees this day. And I had on my moon boots and I had on my down coat. And you know why? Because when you're working out in field service, the longer you're out in the element, the colder you get.
Absolutely.
And after I left field service, I was walking into Safeway, which is our grocery store here in the DC area.
Okay.
And I looked like a complete idiot with a big old coat and those big old boots.
Yeah.
But I had to wear that because I was anemic and I was very cold. Okay. So I had to wear that heavy gear.
Right.
But it was just crazy. So I'm just glad that's over. That part of my life is over.
We feel you.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, how was your college experience, Shannon?
My college experience was interesting. It wasn't your typical college experience that you see in the TV and movies, obviously. So I lived at home with my parents still, and I commuted. I went to U of M Dearborn. So most of the students that go there commute back and forth. We don't stay on campus. So I went to class and I went home. I didn't get involved in any extracurricular activities. Obviously couldn't join a sorority or anything like that.
Nope.
I already in the back of my mind felt kind of guilty for even going to college and not you know, pursuing the full-time ministry. So I tried my best to just do what I had to do in school, as much as I could, and then focus as much time in the ministry as I could and not really get distracted. And I was pretty successful with that up until my final semester. And I had a full schedule and I needed one more elective to meet the criteria for graduation. And lo and behold, the only class that fit into my schedule that would meet that criteria was a philosophy class.
What?
Yep. And I thought about it. I was like, I don't know if I should take this class. Like I don't know what I'm going to be exposed to. Like,
wow.
But at this point, it's either take the class or don't graduate. So
yep.
I take the class. And I managed to get through it still without actually waking up, but it did spark my interest and make me consider questions that I hadn't considered before. And it was eye-opening, I'll say that. But my mind was still closed enough to the point where it didn't fully get me.
Yeah,
but it made me think.
She mentioned to me there were a few things that were being discussed that really went contrary to what she was taught as a Jehovah's Witness.
It bothered me. But, like, you know, I was too afraid to actually do anything about it and pursue that train of thought. I kind of just did what I had to do to pass the class.
But it makes sense that you hear someone like Anthony Morris say, the better the university, the bigger the danger.
Right.
It just makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
But you know what, now that I look at it, you know, just talking to you, talking about you going to college, you know, those were cracks in your foundation.
Yeah.
So that when Keith approached you, you know, that you had already been chiseled at.
Right.
That's probably what made it easier. So it may not have been that you were so, you know, not really into it. It may have been those college classes that you were taking.
True.
And this is the reason why they don't want us going to college.
Exactly. Yep.
You know, so you graduated.
I graduated. Yep.
Okay. Well, congratulations on that. So you're like way far ahead of the curve than everybody else.
Yeah.
Because when we graduated from high school, we didn't go. I went to business school. And you guys probably heard of Dorsey.
Yeah.
Dorsey Business School. I went to Dorsey Business School. Okay. So you know that's not a college, and you don't get no credits there.
Right.
So I remember I had these little phony credits on my little transcripts from Dorsey, and I was going over to Northern Virginia Community College, and I handed her the paper, and the lady goes back and she looks it up on the, you know, I'm trying to play dumb because I already knew that those credits weren't going to work, but I thought maybe there might be a breakthrough somewhere. So I gave her the little credits, and she came back and she said, I'm sorry, but these credits they're not worth anything, you know. So those little Dorsey Business School, you know, business credits would not transfer to the community college. So I wasn't able to use those. So, you know, that's what, you know, like the Watchtower wants you to go to a business college because you see what happened to Shannon? She had to take a philosophy class.
Yep, there you go.
And they don't want you doing that.
They ain't afraid of that, yep.
They don't want you doing that.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So anyway, so now you graduated with your degree. Now, what are you doing, Keith? Are you going back to school or doing anything like that yourself?
Oh, at this point in time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at this point in time, I'm actually pursuing my music career. I have a really rich musical heritage going back, you know, generations. So, well, you know, for most of my life, it was always suppressed. I was never able to pursue that, you know, even though my uncle, who's a very interesting dynamic to this whole story, my uncle, just a little quick background, my uncle, he's Stevie Wonder's lead background vocalist. And he's he's been there for the last 30 years. So
y'all are from Motown, you know.
Yeah, a little bit, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So ever since I was a baby, and I talk about this in my initial video, I would have to sing. Before I would be 2 years old, and I would try to get picked up, and they would say, "No, you got to sing first." So there was always this confusion as to what was most important. You know, growing up, my uncle was my musical mentor. You know, he would take me behind, you know, backstage after concerts to talk to Stevie or Jeffrey Osborne or New Edition, you know, and he'd be telling them in my presence, he's the next star. He's the next one.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing is that at the same time, at this point in time, he's not speaking to me. He's not baptized, by the way, and I'm not disfellowship. But he's not talking to me at all because he thinks that I should be a Jehovah's Witness, even though he's not, and he's the one that kind of encouraged me to pursue this career. So at this point in time, I'm pursuing it. That's what I'm doing. I'm working on creating a music label with my best friend, and it's really amazing how much you can accomplish when you put all your efforts into something. Because for the last 20 plus years, I've been half-heartedly doing it and not really getting anywhere. Mm-hmm. But now that when you start putting all your effort into it, you can see what you're really capable of. So it's been great thus far.
That's good. That's good.
That's excellent.
That's the problem in the organization. Dreams, aspirations, things you would like to do, they're all crushed.
Yeah.
We go to a convention, and that's the whole thing. When you go to the assemblies, conventions, demonstrations, experiences in magazines, they're all designed to crush anything that you have that's a dream. I mean, the organization is literally dream crushers. And I tell people, because people will say, well, the society never said you couldn't go to college. Show me in print, JT, where it says thou shalt not go to college. And I just laugh because I'm thinking, okay. Let me explain to you how it works.
Exactly.
Watchtower they did something that was much more ingenious. Instead of simply saying, thou shalt not go to college, they created a culture where you wouldn't want to go. I had a young man stand out in front. I was out cutting grass one Saturday morning. Jehovah's came by, young guy and an older gentleman. And we got into that little conversation. And I asked the young guy, I said, young African-American, we got Howard University here in Washington, D.C., all this kind of good stuff, right? So I asked him, I said, have you ever considered going to Howard, going to college? And he looked at me with a very proud stance. I don't even want to go to college. And so I felt so sorry for him because in about another 20, 30 years, he's going to be like, I guess I should have went the same thing.
And we used to be him, right?
I used to be you, That was what I told my guidance counselor. When my guidance counselor asked me about going to college, because I had taken all college prep classes, my mom came out of the civil rights movement back in the 60s. So for African Americans going to college, man, you're the first black going to college in your family. That's something to do.
Right.
But my mom had become a witness.
Okay.
And so as a result, I wasn't going to go to college. And my guidance counselor, I remember telling him, I'm not going to college. I'm going to the world headquarters, Jehovah's Witness. So, and now we were taught, like you and every one of us, we were taught two things: pursue a career in the pioneer work and pursue a career at Bethel. And the reason why, and I remember all these talks, Jehovah never lay off. He never lay off. Man, they laid 1,000 Bethelites off, go find a job. Okay, so.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
So you gotta love it.
It's a frightening thing. And then when you get people at the gate, that it's almost like you get the young people, and we've been there, done that. And I remember when I was 22 years old, I almost blew the lid off of Millions Now Living Will Never Die. And I'm doing a personal reading. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is interesting. I'm doing these old publications of the Watchtower, right? So I'm looking at this information. I'm 22 years old, and I'm like, oh, these people have already died. And I'm thinking, something ain't right. But I said, well, you know what I said to myself? I can't be that smart. I can't be smarter than the society. Wow, so at that point, I just dropped it. And it was interesting because it was the timing of events. Not long after, I met JT. When I was moving to different congregations throughout my life, we were always the only African Americans in our congregation. So we never really, fit in to the point where we had youngsters our age. I mean, when I say fit in, I mean listen to the same type of music and different stuff, like different cultural things, right. So I finally met some young sisters that were pioneering, and we all clicked, and all of them are in the circuit work now, okay? And I had met JT. So that was during the time when I was discovering the Millions Now Living Will Never Die thing. At that point, because of the timing of events, I never even pursued it. But it was pre-internet. So I don't even know, where would I have even done any research on something like that? I don't even know. Yeah. But nowadays, for anybody that's lurking on this video, all you young people that's still going to the Kingdom Hall, do your research.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Do your research. You know? Because we have a lot of people lurking on our videos, and I'm sure you have too.
Oh, man. It's amazing.
A lot of trolls are out there.
Yeah.
But this is what I tell Lady Cee. And be thankful. Be thankful that you have people who are dedicated, baptized Jehovah's Witnesses who are willing to click on your link.
Yeah.
When I was at Bethel, they always used to tell us, never listen to anything a former Jehovah's Witness has to say. The reason why is because once you hear it, you will never, ever get it out of your head. So
true.
If you want, so we can't speak for other people and their channels. We can't do that. Right. But we can only speak for our channel. For us, the minute a Jehovah's Witness clicks on our link, listens to it, and then goes out and create a bogus YouTube or Facebook channel so they can post, they've lost. Yeah. They've lost.
Right.
And the fact that they're not critical thinkers, they don't even realize it, which is fine because they have lost. The minute they click a link on, they lost.
Yeah.
Because
they're cracking their foundation.
Yes, the crack is there. And see, when they hear that stuff, man, they'll never get it out of their head. That's why if you look at a lot of our videos, what you will see is an interesting pattern. We typically will take a subject matter, address it, take it apart, turn it upside down, flip it, shake it. They will not address it.
Yeah.
They won't address it. They're like, well, I want to say something. Let me just attack JT about something.
Somebody just put a comment and said, JT, you're like Satan, and you're gonna be destroyed at Armageddon, and they came up with all kind of stuff.
And the video was about 1975, right?
Yeah.
And you feel like, I tell me and Lady Cee, we talk about, you can't get mad. You really can't. Mm-hmm. Because when you think about it, and I tell former Jehovah's Witnesses, keep this in mind. I mean, it's very serious. When a Jehovah's Witness comes up here and listens to what we have to say, it's like we're ripping the rug from under their feet. That's why you will hear, there's a lady, she just posted recently, an older lady, African-American lady, she broke down and cried. And when you talk to people, regardless of who they are, you will find a very common thing happens. Mm-hmm. After you start looking at this stuff, you literally break down and cry. The reason why, because you realize, man, everything you've built in your life is built on sand.
Exactly.
And I have not met any former Jehovah's Witnesses who didn't, after reading and researching and everything click and they realize where they are, they just broke down. Because it's like, oh my goodness, my whole world is just falling apart because you realize it's a house of cards. Exactly. It's a house of cards.
Well, the other thing is people have lost their loved ones in death, and they want to see them again.
Yeah.
And a lot of people email us and they say, where do we go now? Where do we go? We don't even know where to worship at. You know,
it's funny. You mentioned the where do we go, and that's an illustration I often go to whenever people tell me that. Is I say if you're heading off a cliff, are you going to just keep heading off that cliff because you don't know immediately where you're going to go?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Or are you going to turn around and just evaluate your situation?
Yes.
A lot of witnesses won't do that because they don't know where they're going to go immediately. They just stay on that path.
Yeah,
and that's the problem.
Yeah,
true.
And that's what we often tell. We mentioned this in one of our videos before. As witnesses, we have literally been in a spiritually abusive relationship with our denomination. It's just that simple. Mm-hmm. We were in a spiritually abusive because we were always in fear. Even the witnesses who come up here, they can't show their faces. They have to create bogus accounts because they know if the CO and the couple of their elders find their cookies, they're in trouble. They can sit in that back room and say, I was defending the society. And they can look at like, brother, the society didn't ask you to defend them, brother. Right. You need to come up that JT site and do what you need to be doing. Look at your hour. Let me show you an hour. You got 3 hours this month. And so they have no way to try to defend themselves.
Well, some of them are counting time.
Well, I know, right? And so
you're their return visit.
And we return visit. Every time you come back is a return visit, right?
Right.
And so we tell people, if you had a friend who was in an abusive relationship and you've been telling me, you need to get out. You really need to get out. He's beating you up. She beating you up. You're physically being beaten psychologically. And then they finally call you up and they say, you know what? I did it today. I packed my bags and I left. This is the question I always ask people. Would you tell that person, what you're doing is eating? I'm not doing anything. Would you come over to the house? I got a friend I want you to meet. You wouldn't do that.
Right.
You wouldn't do that. The first thing you would say is, girl, man, you need to take care of yourself first.
Absolutely.
Take your time, get yourself together, and then you can decide what you need to do at that point. And for some people, they may decide, I want to get back into a relationship with someone again. And then there are other people that we've met, they've decided they don't want to get back into a relationship. Same thing religiously speaking. Some people, they want to get back into a relationship with another new denomination. And there are others who are like, I'm good. Right. And so the problem we see is that people don't take care of themselves first. See, God is good. So you don't have to worry about what God's gonna do. He's gonna take care of his end. You take care of your end.
Right.
And that's the big thing that people, what do I do? And the reason why we ask that question is because that is a Jehovah's Witness concept. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You work with people on your job. They belong to Mount Nebo. They tell their friends, I'm going over here to Ebenezer next week. They don't ask them, where you going?
Right.
But see, it's a Jehovah's Witness concept. And it's a misinterpretation of the scripture, because the scripture that they use, Jesus wasn't talking about where you go in terms of what, he was talking about himself. Exactly. Peter was talking about Jesus himself. And so once again, we see how the Watchtower take scriptures and do what they want to do with. Yeah, yep. That's what they do. They're good at it. They're good at it.
And that,
go ahead. Were you gonna say something? I was gonna ask you.
No, he mentioned abusive relationship. I think that's the perfect way to put it. I mean, I compare it to the blueprint that they have set in place of getting baptized young.
Yes.
I compare it to, the young girl that never been in a relationship, but she meets this guy, and he sweeps her off her feet. He's holding the door for her. He's buying her flowers, all these things, and all she sees is his good side, right? So now they get married. She's locked in. Now he's abusive. He got kids on the side, etc. Yeah. And now when she tries to leave, what's he say to her? You ain't nothing without me.
That's exactly right. Yes.
I'm gonna kill you.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is true.
Same thing in the organization. You get baptized young, right? Now you're locked in. You get older. You start thinking for yourself. You're finding these things out about this person. And now if you try to leave, what do they say? Where you gonna go?
Yeah. In fact, the Watchtower specifically states, just the same as an abusive man many times will tell a woman, you ain't nothing without me. You can't take care of yourself. The Watchtower says the same thing. Who taught you God's name? Who showed you how to learn Matthew from Mark? Who told you that? So wait a minute, sit down and be quiet. And that's what the organization does. Mm-hmm. Even when you bring legitimate questions, you better not ask it too many times. And it's interesting when and that's just so interesting when you talk to non-Jehovah's Witnesses and they hear you talk about, well, I can't really ask too many questions. What are you talking about? Because it's foreign to them. That is a Jehovah's Witness concept, or what you will find in high control groups. Right. Don't ask too many questions. Keep your mouth shut. So,
right. That's true. Now, you guys have only been out for you said 2 years now, right?
It's been about a year.
About a year. Good. And we've been out, next year will be 20 years for us. Ooh, wow. I'm still pinching myself.
Happy 20 years.
Yes. I'm still pinching myself saying, I can't believe that we ain't got to go to the Kingdom Hall today.
Yeah.
So how y'all feel just after a year? What's your feelings like?
You know what? We've left the truth, but the truth hasn't completely left us yet.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Habits take time to make and break. So every now and then, something that we would do instinctive.
Yes.
Wait, we don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's slowly, we're weaning ourselves off of it day by day.
Well, don't tell me you're getting ready to get up and go do street work.
Oh,
nah, I don't do that all the time.
You can get a cart now. You can get a cart.
Right. Oh yeah, that's a whole nother story.
I mean, you got to admit that is cool. You can count time doing nothing, man. That's the coolest thing in the world.
What we would do, let me tell you what we would do. JT, we would be talking to friends on the phone, and they would call on Christmas Day, and he would forget to say, "Oh, happy holidays" or something like that. Because to them, if you don't say that, it's like, oh, that's that's kind of rude or something.
Yeah.
If somebody calls and and you don't say Merry Christmas or something. Not that you have to do that, but if you don't tell them your ex-witnesses, they probably think you're kind of weird.
Yeah. Or like if someone sneezes and you don't say bless you.
Yeah. this one coworker of mine, I'm not gonna lie. So I never told him that I was an ex-witness or nothing. Never. So it was so funny because I don't know if he knew somebody that knew us that told him that we were witnesses or whatever. Mm-hmm. But he came over to our house one Christmas. Was it the window? To my window.
Oh yeah. He just stopped by.
He had just stopped by. Okay. We didn't have no Christmas tree up, no lights, no nothing. And one day at work, he told me, he goes, "Oh yeah," he goes, "I know you're a Jehovah's Witness." And I'm like, I never talked about witnesses to him, never said a word.
It's amazing.
And so I don't know where he got that from. Because on that job, I came to that job and we had already left the organization. So where he got the fact that we were Jehovah's Witnesses, I don't know. And we had been gone for 5 years.
Yeah, well, most people got family. Most people got family who are witnesses. And whenever people describe that witness family, he look different. He'll never come to the family functions and that. And if you keep talking to him long enough, you'll find, oh, that's a witness, okay.
It must have been something about our personality. The way we were, you come to your house, there's no Christmas. So he just assumed, hey, we're Jehovah's Witnesses. Yep. And I was like, whoa, So then I think the next time he came over, we did have some lights or something. That was funny. But just like you said, you still kind of forget things and you still do things that you forget that is related to the religion.
Yep.
I tell people it will never leave you because it's a part of you. And that's one of the things that you have to understand. It's a part of you. You were raised in it. Mm-hmm. So it will always be a part of you. It's just an aspect of your life that you move on from.
Yeah.
It's like people who were in prison there are people who went to prison for 10, 20, 30 years. They get out because they weren't the person who was actually supposed to be going, but they're not going to get rid of that. That's going to be with them forever. And that's the way it was for us. We was in prison for 30 years, man. You can't just, come on now.
Okay.
I mean, think about how much time we served and how much time we lost. Yeah. We come out and we have to deal with society. Just like a guy getting out of prison, he never used a cell phone. That's the way it is with witnesses. We've never had to interact with people outside.
That's true.
So all of a sudden, it's totally new.
Great point.
It's totally new now.
Well, when you were at Bethel.
Oh, yeah.
He has a Social Security statement that just has
we're going to. If every year most people get this Social Security thing from the Social Security Department, Social Security Agency, and it shows how much you made that year and how much went to your Social Security. Well, I was at Bethel during the time that they instituted what's called the vow of poverty.
Right.
And what happened prior to that is that the society was setting money aside into your Social Security. Mm-hmm. Then with with the IRS, because it's really an IRS thing. It's an IRS thing that allowed monks and people like that. The society took advantage of that, basically. Mm-hmm. The Bethelites, Assembly Hall overseers, circuit overseers, at the time, district overseers for lay all those boys off. And so they don't have to put anything aside for you. So the final 3 years I was at Bethel, when I get my statement, even till today, it shows the year, and it shows the year I was at Bethel, there's a 0 there.
Wow.
Now,
there's a video, it's called Lot's Wife. Talking about Lot's Wife.
Oh, that 3-part video?
Yeah. If you go back into the video, if you go back to the video, there's an African-American brother. He's the speaker. Jamie. That's his name, Jamie. I know him because we were in the same circuit. And him and I flew to Bethel the same day. We came from the same circuit. They walked us out on the circuit assembly because we had the circuit assembly a few weeks before we left to go to Bethel. And they had made the announcement, JT and Jamie, they're going to Bethel. Aren't we proud of these young people? And all that kind of stuff, right? Chief, he's been at Bethel since that time. That's over 30 years. This is my point. On his Social Security statement, he has almost 30 years of zeros.
Wow.
Zeros. 30 years of zeros. And so when those guys were getting kicked out, she had a girlfriend. She married a friend of mine up at the farm. He worked in the press room. Guy had 35 years at Bethel. They kicked him out. told him, going back to Cincinnati, call it a day. And so the way this religion has impacted people's lives, oh my goodness. Oh man, I mean, it's amazing.
So you guys are very young. We got out when we were very young too. You know, so it's a good thing that we were able to go back to college. Well, I shouldn't say go back because I never went.
Yeah, we never went. So yeah.
But anyway,
pick up.
I enrolled in college, both of us.
Good.
And it was kind of nice because we went to school together. We took classes together.
Right.
And JT would try to act like he was trying to pick me up in class.
Yeah, I would fake. We would take classes, man. And first day I would sit like in the back, and she'd sit up in the front and stuff. And then I'd be messing with her in the class and everything after doing the intermissions. Doing the intermission. And what's your name? What's your name? What's your name? And so folks in the class like, I think he like you. I think he like you. Man, we played that thing for like weeks. And then folks were like, we started getting the same car. Y'all come together?
Right. Hey, quick work, huh, JT?
Oh, we had so much fun, man. Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy.
It was fun.
That's great. You guys got to experience that though together.
Yeah, we did.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, that was one of the first classes that we took was psychology. In fact, one of the things that we highly recommend, and even yourself, man, if you only take one semester, just one semester, and we tell people this, take a psychology class. Because that was why we wanted it to be our first class, because we wanted to understand how could people who are reasonable, you know, good-natured, you know, people who had good judgment. I mean, I know brothers, man, if they were not witnesses, these guys would be running Fortune 500 companies.
Absolutely.
Okay? And so we was trying to figure out how could they fall for this? How could they get trapped into this? And so the first class we took was a psychology class. And we wore the psychology teacher out so much that he actually just called us to the side one day. He said, look, I've been teaching this class for about 20 years. Students take this class, just like your wife said, it's an elective. I got to take it. Let me get in and get out.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't the way it was for us.
Yeah.
We would just pepper him with questions. And we would stay after class. Sometimes we would be there so late, man, the cleaning folks come in like, can y'all leave so we can clean the room? You know, go into the room over there. We don't clean that one over there. And we would just pepper him with questions. And then he just asked us, what is going on? Man, what's up with this? Because nobody really cares for psychology. And we told him, we said we were Jehovah's Witness. And he was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. And from that point forward, he provided us with information that really helped us to understand how people are sucked into high control groups. And it's real basic. The Watchtower provides a need. They make a promise and they provide a need. And when you're trying to talk to a witness, unless you can give them something that is of the same value, you will never get them out. If I lost a leg, society said I'm getting my leg back. JT, you gonna give me a leg back? No, I lost Big Mama. You gonna bring Big Mama back? And so the society takes people and they find what their weaknesses are and they bring them in. Mm-hmm. And that's why people are afraid to leave, because typically witnesses don't have a lot. Witnesses typically don't come from the higher educated society. They're typically just regular old folks trying to make a living, trying to make it. And so when somebody, I tell people, especially the African-American community, when you live in the hood, man, somebody's showing you living in paradise and it looks like Fiji, and you're thinking, I'm going to be going to the Caribbean, man. I'm going to take this. I'm taking this, baby.
Absolutely.
Well, even when we found out that this wasn't the truth, I still felt like, so when I told JT, I said, well, you know what? In the back of my mind, I was like, what if this really is the truth? And, you know, we had read Christ as a Conscience. Well, he really read more than I did, put it that way. And he was like, this is not the truth.
It's the truth, man.
And he was like, he said, there is no in the back of your mind, this might be the truth.
No.
He knew
this
wasn't the truth. And I was like, you know what? He ain't leaving me behind. I was like, I'm not staying back with them crazy folks. Really? Because I didn't like my congregation. And when we got married, I remember saying to JT, I don't want to go to this congregation. Something's wrong.
Well, tell him about the congregation. He had a different makeup. Tell him.
We had like 40 single sisters.
Yeah, like 40 single sisters, man.
And we were the youngest couple. He was the youngest elder.
Okay.
So and a lot of the sisters were
Well, they were our ages. A lot of the sisters were our ages. So most of the elders were like father figures and stuff, 50, 60, 70 years old. I'm 27 years old, man. So
you was a bachelor.
A lot of the sisters were older than us. But it was really hard being in that congregation. I was like, this is not working for me. And JT, he told, and I remember this. I can still remember the sun was shining. People was out in the parking lot. And we were driving out of the, Kingdom Hall lot. And I told him, I said, I don't want to go here. And he said, where are we going to go then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are we going to go? Yeah. And I remember that like it was yesterday. So for people that are listening to the video, if you're feeling like you don't want to be there, there's a reason why.
There's a reason why.
There's a reason why. And that's why we got out. And that's why, even though I wasn't ready for his answer to leave, because I wasn't expecting him to just pick up and say, I'm out of here.
Right.
Because I didn't even know where we were going, what we were going to do. And we didn't have a support system.
Right.
When we left.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I was scared and everything, but I just went. I was like, I'm not going back there either. But I did try to go back to check on people to see if my biggest thing was I wanted to be around people that were witnesses like me, ex-witnesses like us.
Right.
Because I knew that those people would respect our value system. So I was just hoping and praying that somebody else would wake up like we did. So we would have people that we knew that we could have as friends.
Right.
But it didn't work out like that.
Oh, no. And that's why I told her, it's part of people's lives.
Yeah.
And that's probably, that's one thing we often talk, we have this conversation all the time. We tell people, you need to prepare yourself for the possibility that you will not have your family.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wonderful to try to get people out and everything. That's a great thing. But you need to prepare, because we have seen over the years, man, what happens when people are not prepared and they tell mama, this ain't the truth. And all of a sudden, they see their mama do something they had no idea mama would do. Mama tell you, please leave. Please leave. And you think, well, I've been knowing all my life. No, please leave right now.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, their whole lives have just changed and they weren't prepared for it.
Yeah.
And so for us, for me, it reminded me of the Wizard of Oz. Right. The scene when the little dog pulled the curtain away, it was over with. At that point, the line, the Tin Man, they was like, oh, this is a joke. This is a joke. Right. And that's the way it was for me. Once the curtain was being removed, I had this non-witness guy. He was trying to say, well, what is it like, JT? What is it? I said, let me tell you what it's like. It's the same as when people in your community grew up and y'all were celebrating Christmas. Once the child learns there's no Santa Claus, he don't want to go to the mall and sit in that man's lap no more. Yep. Ain't no fun. It's no fun no more. He telling the reindeer outside. Well, now he's 8 years old. He don't want to hear that no more. And so the same with us. Once you realize, man, these guys been pulling a scam on. I tell people, we got hoodwinked and bamboozled. And that's just the bottom line. Right. And I can't. And so for me, please, man, go somewhere and sit down.
So what's your
no turning back?
Can't go back.
You can't go back. What's your life like now?
Better.
Yeah, I know.
Is it better?
But no, seriously, it's better all around. As individuals, we feel like we've become better people because we've become much less judgmental.
Oh my goodness.
Our marriage has become better because we're not stressing about things like being late to the meeting and how many times did you comment and why don't you have this many field service hours this month and why didn't you talk to people after the meeting last week? Like all these little things that you fight about as a witness couple, they just disappear and like you actually start to become happier as a couple because you can be yourselves and not like the witness people that you're trying to be.
Absolutely.
So yeah, absolutely. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I totally would agree. As far as qualities go, you guys have probably heard this. I've had people say to me, if this isn't the truth, I would still stay because of how it's made me a better person. And I'm just like, what? But just thinking about the qualities, it makes you more judgmental. It makes you feel like you're better than people, like you're smarter than people, like you're superior to people. that's very dangerous.
Dangerous.
You know, it really turns people off from you. You know, so I mean, there's pros and cons to everything, but those two things, you know, you're also more dismissive. You're not allowed. How can you claim to know everything but refuse to learn about anything?
That's deep.
You know what I mean?
That's deep.
You try to give you something, they're like, nah, I know about that. Oh, did you research it? Nah. Oh, okay. All right. So, you know, it's made us more well-rounded people.
Yeah. Now you see why we named it. Now you see why we called our channel what we did, Critical Thinkers. Yeah. We just didn't do it. We didn't do it.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. We didn't.
Now, what about your friends? Did you get anybody? I mean, you know, when you guys found out about this and you made your decision, have you had anyone in your circle that is questioning? Or can you talk about that?
Yes. There have been many individuals that I've spoken to recently that prior to us letting them know how we felt, we have a conversation with this person. Hey, how you doing? I'm great. I was just out in service and it was great. Then a week later, my channel come out and the same person is coming to me. Hey, man, I got these doubts. And it shows the fear.
Yeah.
You have to give that answer. But there's been so many people lately that I'm kind of like the guinea pig in our areas. You know, they're asking me, so what did you do in this situation? You know, because they want to know if they were to make this exit, how can they be prepared to do so?
Yes.
It's really interesting to see because you never really know what somebody's thinking about, you know?
It is.
Wow. So what about your family? What about your parents?
Let me go first.
I'll go first. So my parents actually ended up leaving shortly after we did.
Oh, wow.
Which was unexpected. So just a little background on my parents. My parents weren't raised as witnesses. They both came in as adults after they were married. They learned the truth from my grandmother on my mom's side. So my grandmother started going to the hall. She got baptized. And then she started studying with my parents shortly after. And then they got baptized when I was about 2 years old. So they had been in for roughly 20 years.
Wow.
And then after Keith and I made our decision to leave, we had them over one day. And we kind of prefaced the situation by having them watch an episode of Leah Remini's Scientology documentary, just to spark the conversation. And we wanted to see how they reacted to that because after we watched it, we noticed a lot of similarities between them and things we did as witnesses. So after we got their thoughts on that, we told them, you know, basically where we were with it. You know, we discovered these things about the organization. We've decided that we don't want to go to the hall anymore. And I mean, they were kind of caught off guard by it. They were surprised, but their reaction was, okay, well, we understand you guys' decision. We don't really agree with it right now, but we can still be family. So that in itself was a huge relief because like the usual reaction is, oh my God, what are you doing? You know, why are you doing this? And then like, we can't talk to you anymore now. So it was a huge relief for both of us that they were like still willing to have a relationship with us, even though we didn't go. So they left our house that night. And then my mom ended up texting Keith, I think, just to ask him, you know, what specifically was it that made us do this? Because, you know, my parents know both of us. They know we're both very stubborn. We don't really go along with what other people say just because, like, so for both of us to have made this decision and not one of us, it really made her curious about what it was. So Keith gave her some information for her to look up on her own. And then maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, we heard from both of my parents and they were like, yeah, we just went to our last meeting. We can't do this anymore.
Just like that.
Because they had done all the research, looked at the things that we told them about, found even more stuff on their own. And when they set foot in the kingdom and heard what was coming from the platform, it didn't add up. It didn't feel right anywhere.
Yeah.
So they're out.
Wow. So they were totally open-minded.
Yes.
There you go. That's what I was going to say. That's what I really give them credit for, is because, as you guys know, it goes back to the superior mindset. When someone hears that someone else is leaving, they don't care to know why. Their main objective is to get that person back.
Yeah.
Because whatever that person's reason for leaving, it's not good enough.
It's not good enough.
It's not good enough. So I give her parents credit because they were like, we know these are two pretty smart people. Let us first find out why. You know, and that doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
Wow. So now what about your parents?
My parents are a little bit, my mother still communicates with me up to this point. My father, there was actually, it's funny you asked, just this past Tuesday, there was a marketing talk pretty much about me and my channel. They said, and I somebody at the hall who goes still told me about this, but that they were saying that, you know, we need to be careful of people who are on making videos and who profess to have the faith and have left. We need to be careful and stay away. So it's clear it's about me, you know, but so it's just interesting because later on that night, I received a notification that my father is blocking me on social media right after that meeting. So you can kind of put, he's an elder, so you can kind of put two and two together as to why, you know.
We first talked a couple of weeks ago, your dad was still talking to you.
Yes, he was. Absolutely right.
Remember we talked about the videos. Remember I said, do you want to put this on hold for 24 hours and decide whether or not you want to do it or not, and whether you wanted to do, you know, go full throttle with this. Yep. So how do you feel?
Oh, you know what? I feel okay. I'm, you know, because like JT said, there's no turning back either way. It really depends on what your bottom line is. And for us, our bottom line isn't the perks that come with the organization, the community, or, you know, the friends and
position.
Right. Exactly. For us, it's about what's true and what's not.
That's it.
That's really what it comes down to. So, of course, losing family is you know, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, but it doesn't change what your bottom line is.
Yeah.
So we can go to sleep at night knowing that we're making decisions based on what we feel to be truth and what's real.
Yeah.
Wow. So now what is it like now that you've lost most of your friends and one half of your family? Because you got your parents, you got Shannon's parents, and now you don't have your parents. How are you guys coping?
You know what? I'm the type of person where I'm okay, because I always call it a blessing in disguise, because of course it hurts to lose everybody, but we all have people who say, I got your back, I'd do anything for you, but you never really know until a situation presents itself to where they have to show you. So now, and you know the organization, they make you pick a side.
Yes.
Either with us or you're against us.
Yes.
So everybody who knows us has had to choose. They've had to show us where we stand in their world. We don't have to wonder anymore about anybody.
Yeah.
So for me, that's a blessing, because I don't have to wonder about anybody. I know who's real, who's conditional, and who's not. They're showing it. They have to.
Yeah. All friendships are conditional based on you accepting what 7 guys out of New York say.
Exactly.
That's the bottom line.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah. I think I would agree with what Keith said. Initially, it was really hard for me to accept, because I was never really the person that had a whole lot of friends to begin with. I had a lot of acquaintances, as most witnesses do, because you meet people from all over, and you feel like you have a lot of friends because that's what the community does for you. But even the few people that I did consider to actually be friends, the majority of them ended up just, you know, turning their backs on us. You know, people that we had in our wedding party when we got married were the main catalyst in making the situation worse for us. So it hurt initially. There was a lot of pain, a lot of anger at first. But again, like Keith said, as time goes on, looking back, I'm just glad that we were able to find out the truth about those people. And now the friends that I've made since we've left, I feel really good about, especially because the job that I have now, I started like right after we left. So like the first job I've had where I wasn't a witness when I started the job. So it was like a clean slate. So now I actually have friends at my place of work, which was forbidden before. Like I go out with my friends outside of work, and it's a whole new world. And I'm really enjoying the people that I have around me now, because I know that the relationship is genuine. It's not built on just the fact that we have a religion in common.
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful. That's the same way I felt. I really hated having to be in a See, when I was working, when we first got married, and I had this one job, we had about 40 witnesses on that job.
Wow, okay.
And I was getting tired of those witnesses because on my other jobs, I used to go to lunch with people that were not witnesses. Because, you know, witnesses didn't have no money to go out to eat.
Yeah.
My pioneer partners, they didn't have no money. And
right.
I didn't have any money either, but I was one of those kind of people that I was going to go get me something good to eat, right?
Yep.
I didn't want to go out. So I couldn't go out to eat with people on my job because it was 40 Jehovah's Witnesses there.
Right.
So if they saw me going to lunch with some worldly people, then they're going to look at me like I'm crazy, right? So I hated that. Yeah. So after we had left this organization, you know, I was like you, Shannon, a clean slate with my new coworkers.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Yeah.
That was nice.
That's a good feeling.
There's a couple of things that we tell people to do. When you leave, call up all of your non-Jehovah's Witness family. Call them up.
Mm-hmm. Call
them up. Let them know you've left. And apologize for sending those Christmas gifts back to these. Okay? Let them know what happened. And what you will find is what we found. I had family members that I was a diehard. I was an elder, I was diehard. And I was very concerned how they were going to respond back to us when we told them. Man, they shocked us. They were like, we felt sorry for y'all. When y'all were kids, we felt so sorry for y'all. So
and they would say, we were praying for y'all.
We prayed for y'all. Lord have mercy on them kids.
Yeah.
So our family who are not witnesses, they felt sorry for this. You know, you got a little 8-9-year-old little boy down in North Carolina with a suit and tie on Saturday morning, with a briefcase going out selling stuff. Come on now, man.
Yeah.
So, and other kids home watching cartoons, Mickey Mouse, and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And so the same with your schoolmates. I went back to my high school class reunion.
Okay.
And there were students who were still there like,
you did that too.
He's Jehovah's Witness. Maybe it's been years since I've been in that school. But that's all they remembered.
Right.
That's all they remember.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that. I just went to my 10-year high school reunion, and the first thing somebody said to me, "You got a beard? You don't want a beard?"
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I got a beard now. So yeah, it's like you said, it's really good to be able to reach out to those people and reconnect with them.
Yeah.
And see that they're not they're not this brand that they were described to be by the organization. They're not these crazy people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as far as extended family, on my side, the only ones that were witnesses was my parents, me and my sister, and then our grandmother.
Oh.
So after we left, like, it was a family reunion because we were able to actually like spend time with all of these aunts and uncles and cousins that we never really saw before. And, you know, they always respected how we felt, but afterward they were just happy and welcomed us with open arms. And they're happy that we can come to all the family gatherings.
Yeah.
Now.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Are they all there in the Michigan area? In Detroit?
Most of them, the majority of them are,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
One of my
You
cousins
might be related to some of my family.
could be.
I'll bet you any amount of money, you probably know some people that's some of the witnesses there.
Probably so.
Some of them, they may have gone to your assemblies and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my family that's still in the organization.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Or that we probably cross paths some kind of way.
Probably so.
Never know. Never know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh no, I was just gonna say one of my cousins I actually had to call and apologize to. You know, I said because this was my closest cousin growing up, and he wasn't a witness. You know, he got involved in all these other things, and we never took part. And it was always this division there.
Yep.
And I apologize to him. I said, I apologize for the way that you had to be treated.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily. And he said to me, you know what? It's okay. We know what you guys had to go through.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. And that makes you feel better, but it's, you still wish you could have seen it sooner somehow, but it's good to get to reconnect with your family.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. I have a cousin like that. When we were growing up as kids, they would all come down in North Carolina to go to grandma's house for the holidays. And that would be the only time any of these relatives would come down during holidays. So I literally grew up as a kid, never seeing my cousin because they didn't want to come over to our house because they knew we didn't celebrate the holidays. And we didn't go down to grandma's house. So I didn't get to know them. I have a cousin, man. This guy's a pilot. He flies for the United States Air Force, F-14s. He flies all of that. He's in the reserve now. For his job, his day-to-day job is he flies a 747 from Juneau, Alaska to China. That's his route.
Wow.
Every day.
I think that changed that.
And so we have the family members who that you never got to know. And so it's really sad.
And you know what the interesting thing about all of that is? We don't know what career paths to take. And I find that when I talk to a lot of ex-witnesses, they all gravitate to this one career path. But if you had more people to look at what they're doing, you would be able to choose other things besides some of these career paths that's going to put you on your feet all day.
Yeah.
Some of these career paths that people are taking, they're like, you got to stand on your feet for 12 hours. Mm-hmm. And when you get out of high school and you've been out of the organization for 20 years, you're up in age. Right. So some jobs you don't want to have, you know. But if you would have been able to be around some of your family members and you could have saw these different career paths they took, you would have been able to see other choices. Exactly. You know, now my father, he was a meteorologist. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, hands down, I didn't want that job. I knew I didn't want that job. Right. And the reason why is because meteorologists work 3 shifts. They got to work, you know, all 3 shifts, days, afternoons, and midnights. Okay. And that was the only reason why I didn't choose that career field. I was like, I'm not doing that. My dad did that all my life, you know. Right. But so I knew I didn't want that. But so we always gravitated to the secretarial stuff. Okay. So that's why I went to Dorsey Business School. Mm-hmm. And you know, I took the advanced secretarial studies. Well, they gave me a good foundation in business, though. The
trades, that's what witnesses generally gravitate toward because you don't have, like I said, you don't have to waste time. Right. But really, you know, like my wife often says, you know, now looking back now, we could all have 3 PhDs by now. The amount of time we wasted. Even
the time that we left the organization, and we did get our bachelor's degrees, but after we finished that, I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm tired. I don't want to do no more school. Right. I don't want to do no more. I'm done.
Elementary school probably burned you out.
It really did because it actually took us about 10 years because we were working full-time jobs. Mm-hmm. And it's very expensive putting 2 people through college. Right. I mean, so, you know, and you can't take a full schedule when you're working full-time. Right. So you have to take it.
That's admirable. You guys stuck with it, though.
Yeah, so we made it.
Yeah, we did. How are we doing on time? Okay, so we got to bring this to a close. Okay. But we certainly enjoyed the discussion and a roundabout, and we were able to get a couple of our little, you know how sometimes you don't want to do a whole video just to tell somebody you wore moon boots? You know, the story in this thing, you know what I'm saying? So it was kind of nice to be able to include some of our little stuff in here with y'all.
I never wore moon boots. I didn't wear those.
I don't even know what moon boots are. Right. North Carolina, so you didn't have a need for that, you know. Anyway, so we are so grateful that you guys were willing to come on and tell your story on our program. Yep. Okay, so this has been Lady Cee.
And this has been JT.
And Shannon and Keith. Thank you for tuning in, the viewing audience.
This program was sponsored by Critical Thinkers.